Welcome back to Hannity. So Donald Trump, while campaigning yesterday in North Carolina, he reached out to African-American voters and unveiled what he called a, quote, New Deal for Black America. Let's take a look.
Here is the promise I make to you. Whether you vote for me or not, I will be your greatest champion. I will also pursue financial reforms to make it easier for young African Americans to get credit to pursue their dreams in business and create jobs in their communities. We will also encourage small business creation by allowing social welfare workers to convert poverty assistance into repayable but forgivable microloans. Everywhere I go in this country, all I see is untapped potential waiting to be set free. And maybe the greatest of that potential is in the African American communities. There's so much potential.
Here now with reaction, former 2016 GOP presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson and Trump campaign advisor, senior advisor A.J. Delgado. All right, Dr. Carson, three big promises: safe communities, great education, high-paying jobs. If you look at the numbers and break down issues economically in the black community, they have been disproportionately impacted by violence, by a bad educational system, and the lack of economic opportunity. So this, to me, seems to be, must be a long-standing promise that Republicans should be making every year, not just campaign years.
Yeah, well, better late than never. The Republican Party has been tardy when it comes to focusing on the downtrodden communities, you know, both on the inner city, some of our rural communities. And whenever I talk about that with Donald Trump, he gets very animated from the very beginning. And he understands that these communities are vital to the health of our nation. And you can't have a successful nation without this. But some of the keys are a good education, because that changes the trajectory of one's life.
Well, that's what your mother did for you.
Opportunities.
Dr. Carson, your mother
Absolutely.
took you off the streets and your friends, and she said, you got to read, you've got to study, and took away your games and your TV, and, you know, look at what you became, one of the best surgeons in history.
Well, it really differs from what the Democrats have offered. You know, they say, I'm going to give you this housing subsidy, I'm going to give you free health care, I'm going to give you food stamps. And, you know, that's not particularly helpful. What you want to do is provide the pathway, the good mechanism, so that people can climb out of a state of dependency. And, you know, I've heard some people criticize Donald Trump and say, oh, well, he thinks that all blacks live in the ghetto and are poor. No, he doesn't believe that at all. Of course he knows better than that. But he is concentrating on the area of weakness, an area that we need to strengthen, because we only have 330 million people.
If you look at the 8 Obama years, and I talk about the horrible economic statistics, doubling of the debt, 1 in 5 American families, nobody's working, 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty. Blacks, Hispanics have been disproportionately negatively impacted by liberal policies, but every 4 years. Inner city America, in come the Democratic Party, we need your votes, and by the way, those wascally Republicans, they're racist, don't vote for them.
Right.
Same strategy, no impact in their lives.
Right, and what we're most hurt by is illegal immigration. Working class African Americans and working class Latinos, we're the ones that are disproportionately negatively impacted by it. I wrote about this 2.5 years ago in National Review. It's African Americans that are the victims of amnesty when they see higher competition for jobs, lower wages because of illegal immigration. So I don't think there's been enough attention paid to the fact that Donald Trump's platform really is, for that reason alone even, a pro-African American platform.
This is the key question then why every 4 years? Disproportionately. Now, there was a Rasmussen poll out October 25th. Trump has 16% support from black Americans. Okay, almost triple the amount that Mitt Romney had. But why still such a low number? In other words, Democrats seem to have a monopoly on these demographic groups. Why?
Because of the media noise. They refuse to acknowledge something as simple as, listen, your communities, you need jobs, you need less competition, you need higher wages. Amnesty is what's hurting you. Business regulation that Donald Trump wants to do away with is what's hurting you. Bad trade deals are what's hurting you. So when you vote Trump, you're voting for yourself. A vote for Trump is a vote for helping the African-American community. That's a fact. That's indisputable.
What do you think, Dr. Carson? You look at all these polls. We see all these balls up in the air right now, WikiLeaks, more Project Veritas. My question to you is, do you believe these polls are wrong? Do you think there's going to be a Brexit effect? Do you think there are people that won't admit they're going to vote for Donald Trump? You're out with them on a pretty regular basis.
Yes, I do believe that the polls are skewed. You know, one of the polls last week, I think it was ABC, had Hillary 12 points ahead, but they only polled 29% Republicans. If they polled 29% Democrats, they'd have a very different number. And they tend not to talk about, you know, IBD and Rasmussen and the ones that look good for Trump. And that seems to be universal amongst the mainstream media. And I think a lot of people, and particularly in the black community, if you ask them who they're voting for, they're not going to say Trump because, you know, they don't trust you. They don't know who you are. And there's such negative ramifications for them. And in the white community, they frequently don't want to say it because if you vote for Trump, you're a racist. That's the narrative that's been put forth. Of course, it's full of crap, but that's what's put forth out there.
I love when you say full of crap. Now you sound like me. Your talk show host is in your future. What do you think, AJ?
Absolutely agree. Listen, there's an intimidation factor that people don't want to admit they're voting for Trump because the media has been so heinous in the way they portrayed Trump supporters. So we're seeing it come out in Florida. Supposedly Clinton was up, and now we've seen an early voting. It's Donald Trump that's up. That's proof positive right there that the polls are wrong.
He's got to run the table, though. He's got to get Florida, Ohio, North Carolina. He's got to pull in, make sure he gets Utah, which is amazing, Arizona, Nevada, and then he's got to pick up, you know, a New Hampshire, including Indiana, and then he also has to get Iowa. It's a tough, he's got a...
It's going to be tough, but it's going to get
task.
done. The people know he's our champion, and they're going to cast that ballot on November 8th.
All right, thank you both.